Well, hello, welcome to today's lesson. If all is according to plan, this should be lesson number 9. And by this time, you should have learned this entire formula and why this person is kind of looking okay. This person looks like a little quizzical and this person has a big smile. You should know those things. You should also have an idea of what this is, defined this, have a 30-second speech for this, a 60-second speech for this, a set of questions for that. I encourage you to ask for more than you've been asking for, and I've shown you some things you can do to get more of those. And the reason why I'm very, very nondescript as I talk about these letters is because today's lesson is not like the others. In the other lessons, I told you what you could do, what to do, what you should do to use this formula to increase your marketing and sales income. That's what this whole program has been about. But there's a reality I want to tell you about. If you took all the salespeople in existence in this country and you looked at the number of hours they worked, you looked at the amount of expenses they incurred through training programs, gasoline, travel, car expenses, parking, and all the time and all of the hours that they actually worked. I believe the average marketer makes less than they could make working in a job. Depending on their skills, depending on what kind of jobs they could get, the average marketer makes less per hour than that same person could probably do in a job. And whenever I say that, it's kind of interesting because we become marketers because we want this freedom, lifestyle, and unlimited income potential. But the reality is the average marketer is struggling. And I want you to compare this with some people that I want to talk to you about. And I'll tell you what they have in common or what makes them different from the average marketer. So take a young man and it's the weekend and he's decided he wants the company of a young lady that he's attracted to and then maybe not so attracted to. And then it doesn't matter. He just wants to be with a woman. I have seen those gentlemen in nightclubs pursue woman after woman. I've heard them lie. I've heard them be very creative. I've heard them risk, spend money. I've seen them do almost anything to be with a woman. Let's talk about your 4-year-old, 4 to 8. It doesn't matter how old. But when they decide that they want something, they become creative, right? They become persistent. They become perfect marketers. They will do and say whatever it takes to get that thing that they want. And here's the best one of all. I've never actually known one personally, but I've heard stories. I've seen what it's done to people's lives. The addiction to a drug, be it crack, cocaine, or heroin, those two specifically. I've seen people and heard stories of people who have no jobs, who may be homeless, who may be absolutely mentally disabled. And yet, somehow, from those situations, these people always find the resourcefulness to get their fix for the day. I mean, literally, we're talking homeless people with no income, without all their sound mind and body, and yet they're still able to get their fix. And yet, I'm willing to bet that the average person who watches this series of videos, that they paid to watch this series of videos, has never sat down and figured out what their questions are, to figure out what someone's problem is, why they want that, why they have that problem, and all those things that we covered in a previous lesson. They didn't sit down and write a 30-second speech to get someone's attention so they can continue with this process. And so when you say, what's the difference between a guy at a nightclub trying to find a woman who will be with him, a 4 to 8-year-old trying to get that candy or whatever it is they want from their parents, and that addicted crack or heroin addict. The difference is only one thing. It's called desire. A young man in pursuit of a woman has a desire. He's got the clear picture of what he wants. He knows how great it's going to be to get it. And his pain that comes if he doesn't get that is so strong that it'll make him do whatever it takes to be with that woman, to find a woman who's willing to be with him. Same thing is true with the 4 and the 8-year-old. They will absolutely, the pain of not having that cookie or not being able to stay up and watch that TV show or not having whatever it is they want is so great that they will pretty much do and promise anything to get that thing. And without question, the pain of withdrawal and not having that heroin or that crack cocaine creates such pain that it makes that person creative to do anything to get what they want. But as marketers, we've got this safety net, as many of us have a different job, but maybe we're working full time. And so this marketing is a part-time income, or maybe we're retired and we really don't need as much money as we think. We just want to make a little bit to get by. Or maybe we are full time, but we've got a spouse who works, or maybe whatever it is, deep down within us, we simply don't have the desire to even follow through on the things we paid to be a part of. I've been there. Honestly, haven't you been there? We know what to do. And if life is measured by our pursuit of pleasure or avoidance of pain, for some reason, what it takes to be successful as a marketer, which is what? Exposing ourselves to others, talking to people, giving out our business cards. If we're not willing to do that, then nothing else I teach you matters. And so the point of this lesson is to really get you to ask yourself this question. What is my desire to be successful as a marketer? And what level of success do I want? Do I just want to make a couple of bucks here and there so I can survive? Am I trying to do a little bit better than the average person? Or am I trying to have it all? Whatever that may mean to you. Because what you do as a marketer isn't really based on what you know. It's based on your desire to overcome objections, overcome obstacles, make yourself uncomfortable, allow yourself to be in situations where the average person runs, but you thrive in that situation. If you want to be a successful marketer, these are tools. But the bottom line is, are you the person who will talk to everyone who comes within your sphere of influence? Are you the person who, when you do a presentation, you actually ask these questions? Are you a person who's willing to ask for more money than most marketers are willing to ask? And most importantly, when they don't say yes right away, are you willing to probe and ask the right questions and ask again and again? How many times do you call people before you say that person's not going to ever do business with me? How many times are you at a networking event when you could say, so let's get together and talk, that you don't do it? These are not functions of talent, ability, know-how, or anything. They're functions of desire. How badly do you want the things you say you want? That is the ultimate difference between a top producing, highly successful marketer and the rest of us, or the rest of the marketers that are out there. It's a struggle for almost all of us to have such a high level of desire, like that young man at a nightclub on the weekend who's determined to be with someone, like your 4 and 8-year-old who are determined to have that dessert or whatever it is they want, and that crack addict who has limited resources, limited creativity, limited everything until that feeling comes over him and he's got to have that drug like his life depended on it. And when you, as a marketer, develop that kind of desperation, you will kick a word that begins with an A ends with an S and has another S in the middle. That's when you will become a great marketer. But until you develop that desire, you, my friend, will never reach your highest and fullest potential. And that's the message I want to bring to you today. And in the final lesson, I'll bring you some ways to create or manufacture that desire so you absolutely can become all you're capable of becoming. I'll see you in the next